Hi, everyone. I'm here with Melissa Doman. Melissa is the Director of Mobility Development at Doman International, but she's also the creator of Melissa Doman Sleep Consulting, which is the only sleep consulting business in the world which teaches parents of kids with special needs how to teach their children to sleep independently and through the night. Melissa, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Spencer.
Okay, so Melissa, let's just talk first about why is sleep so important for kids with special needs?
Well, sleep is important simply just because it's a vital process for brain growth and development. And for any family who is trying to make even the most small changes towards their child's development and getting milestones, sleep is really important because that's the brain's time to process, to organize all the information, all the input that you give your child during the day. And unfortunately, it's a very often ignored part of the brain growth and development process. So if regardless of whether you're doing Doman or not, it's vitally important that your child's getting a good night rest if you want to see all of that work, therapy program, etc., really come to fruition.
And so if you see a child who's struggling to sleep or not sleeping enough, and you can help that child sleep more, sleep through the night, what kind of changes do you see in the kid?
Well, on the short term, obviously, kids just generally in a better mood, a little bit more cooperative with the program. And I know for a lot of Doman parents, motivation and cooperation is a big struggle. So on the short term, you see better behavior, more cooperation, better focus, easier to regulate themselves from a sensory standpoint. A lot of my parents will say that a lot of the stimming behaviors that they see during the day will start to really significantly reduce. But if we're looking at the long term, I mean, I have parents who write me 2-3 months later saying that their child is like actually physically growing, which for a lot of kids with special needs is a big problem with weight gain and just general physical development. But also, parents finally start seeing like all of that repetition, all of that work they've been putting into this ability, like it's finally starting to come out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like I said, short term, but also long term benefits to making sure a child's getting adequate sleep at night.
Now, a lot of parents don't know actually how much their child should be sleeping, right? They might have heard somewhere that 8 hours a night is a good amount of sleep. But for kids, that's not the case.
No.
How much should a kid be sleeping?
Well, I generally recommend for my families whose kids are under 8 years old, you're probably looking at close to 12 hours a night. Sometimes that can be a little bit different based on napping during the day and things like that. But for a child who is getting any kind of intensive Doman program, like they need sleep. They absolutely need it. And a lot of Doman kids actually need more sleep than like a neurotypical kid or children who aren't on the Doman method. So yeah, 12 is kind of like your magic number after 8 years old. It does change a little bit, but actually not as much as you think.
So how do you coach parents to teach their kids to sleep better?
So often what I find is that there are two major things that we have to look at. First of all, we have to look at what's going on developmentally. So what are the sensory needs that child has? What are some of the nutritional changes we need to make? Are they getting the right kind of physical activity? Are they getting too much physical activity? Sometimes this is a problem as well when it comes to getting a good night's rest. So you've got the developmental part that you have to look at, but also there are some very basic things that you have to do in order to promote good sleep hygiene. So looking at the schedule, looking at those routines leading up to bedtime, and taking a really close look at what is that process to get to sleep? And I would say that probably close to 90%, or maybe about 90% of families that I work with, their sleep issues are in that initial falling asleep for the night. If a child doesn't quite know how to do it on their own, they're going to keep looking for that help over and over and over again. And the way I often explain it to families is like, let's say, for example, you go to sleep with your pillow and blanket, and then all of a sudden you wake up middle of the night and they're gone. The first thing you're going to do is, number one, get very startled, because that is at 2 a.m. That's not a surprise that you really want. But number two, you are immediately going to wake up, you're going to get out of bed, and you are going to go look for your pillow and blanket. And often that is enough of a startling experience, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to go right back to sleep afterwards. And if a child is dependent on a parent in some way, shape, or form to get to sleep, they're going to go through that over and over and over again. And for some children with big sensory issues, like, try winding back down from that. Good luck. It can be really, really tough. So if you're factoring in what a child needs developmentally, you're making sure that you're sticking to the basics with regards to sleep hygiene, but really encouraging that independence in sleep. Your child will have success. It may take some time, but they are going to have success with their sleep, no question.
If people want to learn more about what you do, what would they do?
Well, you can find me. My website is melissadomansleepconsulting.com. I'm also on Facebook at Melissa Doman Sleep Consulting, and on Instagram, my handle is Special Needs Sleep Coach. And on all those, I'm posting free tips. I'm talking about my services. I've just recently this year launched the Special Needs Sleep Program, which is a small group coaching program for parents who want to get their child sleeping, and they want to get their sleep back as well.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Great. Thank you for having me.